going on today? Welcome to the 5th episode of What Coaches Think College Edition. To introduce some of these big-time coaches to my left, which Adam Cohen, associate head coach at Stanford, as well as just put together one of the top 2020 recruiting classes in all the nation. To my bottom left, Coach Dwayne DK Killings, associate head coach for the first year now at Marquette, as well as Coaching for Action founder. To my right, Coach Kevin Freeman. He's a gold medalist, UCONN all-time great, 2014 NCAA champion, as well as now a Penn State assistant coach. And to my bottom right, Coach Kimani Young, one of the top 25 up-and-coming coaches. He's as well as a coach at UCONN. But all you guys have achieved so much, and I just want to talk about how you guys have all got to the point you guys are at today. Coach Cohen, we'll start off with you. How have you got to the point you're at now at Stanford as associate coach? How'd you get here?
It's been a wild ride. I'm from Buffalo, New York originally. I've kind of done every job in this business to this point, from a manager at University of Arizona to a GA to a video guy to ops to an assistant, and now where I'm at. So it's been a cool little ride, and definitely love being a part of it. There's no better business. It's a crazy world, but I know we're all really fortunate to be in basketball.
How about you, Coach Freeman?
Yeah, so for me, with the UConn, obviously a player first in the late 90s. Then from there, played professional basketball for 12 years. Then got in the coaching side based on AAU. My last couple of years of playing professional, I knew I wanted to coach. Hooked up with my former AAU team, the players. Then got on the administrative side with coaching. And fortunately, I hooked up with Kimani, those guys, and then DK and DK's relationships we pulled together, and I ended up at Penn State as assistant.
How about you, Coach Young?
Yeah, my path was a little different. I played in college, and after I finished playing, didn't know really what I wanted to do. Got into youth development in New York City. Really started working in the police athletic league, running after school programs and summer programs. Got into the AAU side of it and grassroots. And then just kind of went from there. I was running an AAU program for about 8 years. Joined Norm Roberts' staff at St. John's in 2008. Realized I wasn't really cut out for the administrative side, so went back to grassroots for a couple years before I got an opportunity with Richard Pitino at FIU. I was there with him for a year. We moved to Minnesota. As he took me with him as an assistant at Minnesota. I was there 5 years. And through my relationships in grassroots, I built a relationship with Danny Hurley over the years, recruiting in the same circles, just kind of being in that space. And when he got the UConn job, he reached out to me and gave me an opportunity to get closer to home and, rebuild his story program.
Without doubt. Last but not least, Coach Killings, talk about your story.
Yeah, I was lucky. I was a walk-on at UMass for Bruiser Flint and Steve Lapis for 2 years, and then I finished my degree at Hampton University. And to be honest, I wanted to get in the game of basketball, didn't really know exactly what I was going to do, but I drove down to Charlotte, North Carolina when they were just starting their organization, the Charlotte Bobcats. Literally drove through the night, snuck into a hotel, took a shower, ran out of there, had an interview, and the next thing I knew, I was selling merchandise actually to start. It was an intern, and then I became a video coordinator for that organization. And like Coach Young said, it became about relationships. The president of the organization, Ed Tapscott, and the GM, Carl Hicks, worked with an unbelievable coach in Fran Dunphy at Temple University. When Coach Dunphy got the job, he hired me in the operations position. I did that for 3 years, going back to those relationships. I spent a year at the NBA League office working for Chris Alpert. Went to have my first job as a college coach, working for Pat Chambers at Boston University. It was a great experience, fell in love with coaching, recruiting, developing young men. Went back to Temple for 5 years as an assistant for Coach Dunphy, and then had an opportunity to go to UConn and work with Kevin Freeman for 2 seasons, which was great. Built a great relationship with him, like he just mentioned. And then now I'm going to my 3rd year here at Marquette. So it's been kind of a journey of relationships and networking and just trying to work, as hard as I can to represent those programs and, the players that are represented within them.
And all 4 of you guys have now worked your guys' ways up in terms of NCAA coaching staffs. And Coach Cohen, you're now our associate coach at Stanford. You're obviously putting together your roster, but to get to this point, who would you say have been some of the biggest people that's kind of helped you kind of reach this point?
I've been really fortunate to work for some amazing coaches and kind of learn the ropes that way. When I was in college, I was the manager at Arizona, and Josh Pastner was an assistant coach. Miles Simon was an assistant coach, who's now with the Lakers. Kevin O'Neill was the other assistant coach at the time, a former NBA coach, who I also worked for at USC. And Lute Olson was the head coach. So that gave me an amazing, background and opportunity to learn. And then from there, I worked with Joe Pasternak at University of New Orleans as a grad assistant, who Joe's now at UC Santa Barbara doing really, really well. Josh is at Georgia Tech as the head coach now. And then I worked for Kevin O'Neill at USC, so he had a great influence on my basketball mind. And, it's just been really fortunate to be around other guys. One of the guys that huge influence on me, I worked for at Harvard, and I always say, like, his communication was absolutely incredible with the players, and just a great mentor. And then I worked for Kevin Stallings at Vanderbilt, who's just as good of an offensive mind as there is. And at Stanford with Coach Haas. Coach Haas he played for Roy Williams, and he always says he wants his players to have the type of relationship he had with Coach Williams. So I've just kind of learned a lot of different things from everybody along my journey, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I always say, like, working for a number of different guys really helps you, and it helps you grow as a coach. And, I've been fortunate to have some really good ones to learn from.
And for you, Coach Freeman, as you said, you grew up as a basketball player. You are a top 15 guy in points and rebounds for UConn. You kind of transitioning into becoming a coach and for basketball. How does that transition go for you? What was it like going from a player to the coaching aspect?
Well, first, I should have been top 12 until Christian Vitale passed me. And that has to do with Kimani Young down there in my lower screen. But, yeah. So
I apologize. I apologize for that, Coach.
DK has something to do with that too, some of the shots. But no, on a serious note, Jim Calhoun, he brought me in, and it's a story and a testament. I was rejected by him 3 times. He gave the job of operations 3 times prior, but I just kept plugging away. I asked him what I need to do. He said, you need to, get out there and network and connect with AAU guys, and that's what I did. So I got in, eventually got in with him. Kevin Ollie takes over. We win a national championship, I think, in my 3rd or 4th year in 2014. So, he was a blessing learning from him and taking that next step. And then what's awful was sometimes it seems a curse was a blessing. I wanted to be elevated as an assistant. I didn't get the other opportunity, and Dwayne Killings come in, and you would think sometimes that you kind of go against the grain with that and have some spite, but it ended up being a great working relationship. And it's funny because he ended up being a great friend and also a mentor toward me. And that in the future, you don't see that happening, that relationship developing and the networking happening behind the scenes. Fast forward 2 or 3 years later, his relationship with Pat Chambers propels me to have an assistant coaching job at Penn State. So he's a major part of it. Pat Chambers has been awesome for giving my first opportunity, and I just try to run with it. It's been a blessing.
Absolutely. And Coach Young, you're obviously out there at UConn. How have you been able to kind of develop this program now into kind of having this comeback now with Coach Hurley?
Listen, man, it's UConn, right? This isn't a hard place to recruit you. The place has 4 national championships. Countless pros. The success on both the men's and women's side of basketball is, second to none in the country. I think it was all about just reconnecting with the right people. We've made a tremendous focus on the Northeast, right? I don't think we've landed anybody outside of Philadelphia since we've been here. We went up to Canada and recruited a big kid, but for the most part, our focus has been in this Northeast corridor, and it's been going well so far with our staff and Danny's brand and name and track record here in the Northeast.
And for you, Coach Killings, you also at Marquette, and it's been a busy COVID season, but your job has changed now. You're going to associate coach. Coach Stan Johnson also went out to LMU. How have you begun to kind of see how your role has shifted now into being associate coach?
Yeah, Stan Johnson did a terrific job, during his time here. So did Brett Nelson, when he was associate head coach in the program. Both those guys are now leading their own programs because they earned it. And I think one of the things that Coach Wojciechowski does here is he gives you a chance to develop. He gives you a chance to lead. He lets you put your prints all over the program because he leans on you. But it's a great space here in how we do everything at Marquette where, you can grow as a coach, and it prepares you for what everybody ultimately wants next, and that's to be a head coach, at the college level. But for me, really, is I think, Stan and Brett laid the tracks for it in terms of how we're going to mentor our kids, how we're going to develop our kids, how we're going to recruit, how we're going to engage with donors and alums, how we're going to help, coach be the best head coach that he can be every day, and keeping us organized and, thinking both short and long term. Because so much of what we do is critical in the moment, but also you got to think, down the road sometimes. It's the work that you're trying to do in the summer, the pivots you have to make during COVID. I mean, there's all these decisions that you need to make along the way. I think luckily for us here at Marquette, Coach gives us a chance to really develop and grow in our positions. And now he rewards you with an opportunity to lead at a much higher level.
And for you, Coach Cohen, now you've been an associate coach for a couple of years now, and we see this 2020 class coming in. You guys have a lot of big-time talent. How excited are you to start getting to work with guys like Zaire and everyone else part of this class?
Yeah, we're really fired up, obviously. The whole group is kind of a unique class of a mix of different kids. Obviously, Zaire is the biggest name. He's a kid that we recruited for 4 years, came to our camp our first summer here. We had no idea who he was, and next thing you know, he's a top 5 player in the class. And sometimes in recruiting, the relationship holds true, and that's kind of what happened with this one. He had a great trust with our staff, especially Coach Haas, and couldn't be more excited. Then we have Noah Tate's a great shooter from Las Vegas, Brandon Angel, excellent shooter from San Diego, who's pretty under the radar, Michael O'Connell from New York, who's a late signee that we got, and then Max Merle from Omaha, Nebraska, who's kind of a high-flying 6'9" athlete. So we're pretty fired up about the group. It's a group of 5 freshmen, and we return just about every guy other than our point guard who just left to go to the draft. But we're pretty fired up about the group we got coming in.
Now, for Coach Freeman, I mean, we see the recruiting adjustments you have to make for COVID, but when you're trying to recruit a player, you have the experience of being a guy that's played in those shoes. You've been a college player. How do you kind of be able to relate to your recruits and then also just the guys on the team because you've gone through what they've gone through?
Yeah, just trying the daily experiences I've gone through, just freshmen coming on campus now, and your eyes are wide open. You don't know what to expect. You think you can average 20 points coming in. Yeah, it's a total different world. The physicality, the size of the guy, the speed, that type of thing, and then just the intensity, the overall level to play hard every possession. So just trying to get guys through that and trying to and help them understand, you make a mistake to build from that. That's been the biggest transition for a lot of our guys. We got, 4 new guys. We got shooters. We got some wings. We got big guys. But the big thing is the overall mental preparation, and that part I understand, and I've gone through it. I've been in the slumps where you had a bad week, and now you got to bounce back, and coach is riding you. So those are the adjustments I try to make, conversation pieces, talking to them after, and then just work with them on a daily basis. We've been lucky the last 3 weeks to be on the court with our guys, our freshmen. So it's been a blessing for us. We just wrapped up today, so we had an awesome 3 weeks.
For you, Coach Young, you obviously are out there at UConn. You're putting together this team amongst COVID. How have you adjusted to this? How is this COVID recruiting going now as you try to finish up 2020 and now starting to work on 2021?
I mean, listen, it's been, it's just been different, right? It's been, we talk a lot. Everybody on this call, we communicate with each other, and it'd be times where can't believe we're home right now. Usually we're on the road. We're at Peach Jam. We just had to adjust. We did a lot of Zoom calls just like everybody else. A lot of evaluations through video and through live streaming. Even, some of the events that's been going on here recently. And for the most part, things have been going well. We did a good job of getting a jump start on the class by getting out, during the season and seeing some juniors who we kind of locked in on. And we're looking forward to closing up this class well.
And Coach Killings, you have a 2020 class coming in, featuring guys like Osa, Justin. You have a lot of big-time players, Dawson as well. Those are some big-time recruits. You have a top 20 recruiting class. How do you look to get them acclimated as you guys get closer and closer to the season?
Yeah, COVID, you're used to getting the guys, on campus and working with them. And, obviously that got taken from us because of everything that's going on right now. But I think what we were able to do is we were able to build great relationships with them, have much different kind of conversations. We're reading books with our guys. We've had different speakers come with our guys. You start to see their growth as men. And it's not so much about their growth as players and watching their bodies grow like we all, typically do in the summer months, but you watch them grow a little bit differently. And how are they going to react to challenges? This is a whole different challenge. It's not necessarily going for a loose ball, during summer workouts, but it's a challenge to get through COVID. And are they going to be able to find a gym to work at? And sometimes they got to Uber or take a bus or find a ride. It's different. I think our guys have grown from that perspective. And now I think we've tried to develop a really clear plan for what we're going to do when they get on campus. We've done some great work, this summer. We've had speakers like Charles Barkley come on and talk to our guys. We've had a financial advisor talk about financial literacy. Those guys have matured in a different way. And now we're hoping that they can apply that when they get on campus. The excitement for us as coaches, right now is to finally get them here. And to, watch them grow as players. And I think everybody is so anxious to start that process. Now the difference is we got to move a little bit slower. In the summertime, usually you hit it really hard and then you go even faster in the fall. Now I think you move a little bit slower. And what we're planning to do, which is exciting for me, Stan Johnson did a phenomenal job recruiting Dawson. So you don't have that same relationship necessarily that he might have had, but now you have a chance to work with guys one-on-one because we're going to move a little bit slower. And I think you have a chance to really grow that relationship just from, that sweat equity that you're going to have being one guy to one basket when you start that journey when they get here later on in August.
We talked a little about Zaire earlier, Coach Cohen, and that's a guy, like you said, a top 5 prospect, McDonald's All-American. When you land a guy of his caliber, what ripple effect does that have in the future now for your guys' program?
I think it obviously provides some credibility and everything else, but the truth is we didn't recruit Zaire any different than we did any other guy. We just built a really good relationship with him. We tried to follow our process, and we had a great need for him. He saw our program was, building back up and getting to a good place, and we just had a kid the year before go to the NBA, KZ Akpala, after his sophomore year, and Stanford's an incredible sell. The reality is it's the elite academic school in an amazing area, playing the highest level basketball where you can have it all. So, I think on social media, it looks amazing that Zaire decided to come to Stanford, but, we felt really good about our chances with him the whole time. And we really want to recruit the best players that can fit what we're about here. And it's not for everyone. It's a unique situation that the academics are real and it's hard to get into. But if you're the right kid, the right family who understand what Stanford can do for the rest of your life, there's nothing like it. And that's kind of our pitch, our sell, and we try to really, stand behind that as we move forward.
And for you, Coach Freeman, I know all coaches talk about, you guys obviously trying to recruit a kid. They're talking to them, trying to make conversations both about basketball, not basketball-related topics. How do you manage to keep coming up with more topics as they're not playing on the court, they're not doing that? How have you managed to adjust to new topics to talk to them about?
I don't think you create. I think it comes natural. I think you chop it up with them. You see where their head's at, and you build, real relationships. When you have real relationships, you don't have to come up with a topic. You know about their day, you know about their family, you know about their background. So automatic conversations are going to come up. The social stuff that's going on, the NBA not playing. There's so many different topics guys want to talk about. The COVID, what are we doing with our guys? What's school doing? So are we going to have a season? There's so many different topics that come up. But it happens organically. It does. And if it doesn't, then you're lying to yourself about getting a kid. Because if you can't have those organic relationships, you're not getting that kid. So it's all about the conversation, the relationship, and their background. The rest is easy. And there's some guys you got to pull teeth with. But most guys, if you have that genuine relationship, it's actually a fun conversation for you. Because, we're sitting on the phone with our head coaches. We're doing Zooms 4 or 5 hours a day. So it's very refreshing to talk to a kid and get a different perspective and see how their day is going.
And Coach Freeman brought up a great point. We know obviously the social issues that have come up throughout the past few months now. As you guys prepare now for your programs, talking to guys, walking them through this, how are you kind of walking these guys through it, Coach Young?
Well, it's something we've addressed, from the beginning, ever since the, George Floyd, death. It's been something we've talked weekly with our guys. We've created initiatives on our campuses and the communities that, that we serve here in Connecticut. We've educated them on what they can do to help create change in terms of voter registration and things like that. And just being more aware of what's going on, being an advocate on campus against social injustices and racism. So it's been it's been a journey. It's really opened our eyes because as older, adults and young Black men, we've lived it, right? Most of us on this call are either in our 40s or close to it. To be able to share our experiences with young people and inspire them to be that next generation of change has been fun.
And Coach Killings, you've taken on a huge thing now. You're part of Coaching for Actions, the founder of that. Take us through what kind of drove you to want to create that and what's it's been like setting this all up.
Coaches for Action, it's something that we started, myself, Kimani Young, Kyle Neptune, Ivan Thomas kind of, took the baton or the point guards and starting this. But it's 21, the minority coaches, men's basketball coaches in the Big East. And it's been great work. It's been fun in that, I think our business teaches us to compete against each other for players and for games. The 21 of us have come together and started to communicate in ways we never have. The relationships that we have in this business are not like the ones with the three guys on this call. I mean, with Kimani, with Kevin, with Adam, these are guys that, I speak to regularly. Well, now we've created this whole new group of guys working together, and there's a power in numbers. And we've come up with different initiatives that we think represents our players the right way. And most importantly, it upholds our promises that we make when we go inside homes and we talk about, protecting our kids, growing them as players, as men, as students. I think that's what the motivation was. And I think Kyle Neptune said it best, as a Black man, there's guilt, that you haven't done enough to educate our players, to impact our communities. Sometimes it's just as simply as speaking out or carrying on a conversation like we're doing right now. And I think there's so much opportunity in that. The best work that we've done, though, is we've been a great example of leadership for our players. And we've grown as leaders ourselves in our league. We like to think in the Big East, we have an unbelievable brand of basketball, but also we have unbelievable men in our league that are prepared to lead. And then I think what's happened, a byproduct of that has been our players have used their platforms, whether it's been social media or just speaking out or just having conversations in their own, safe spaces on their campuses or within their programs about society and what they want to see change and what things make them feel vulnerable. And now it's our job to protect them and create programming and initiatives that gives them greater opportunity for success after basketball.
And Coach Cohen, we've begun to see some change, obviously, off the court. But when you talk about social issues in the basketball world, in the sports world, what do you see some of the changes might have now and the impact it's going to have, not only this season, but for years to come?
I first off, echo all these guys' thoughts. I mean, it's been, I would say, rewarding to have the discussions we've had and be able to move forward and grow together and also hear from our players' point of view on how they view things. And one thing I know is going to change is just how we're able to talk to our players about issues that are most important to them and not just focus on basketball, which I think we all spend so much time trying to get them better and trying to get them to the next level and trying to us to win games, when what really matters, like we've all talked about, is building the man and furthering his growth and helping them through, experience that they all go through. And so that's what being a coach is all about. That's why we're all in this. That's why we're all trying to, help our guys grow as men. So when they get to be our age, we feel like we've had an impact on them. So I think, obviously the NCAA passing a little rule that allows our guys to have something on their jerseys is a pretty cool step, like the NBA. I expect that to stand true for a while. But most importantly is being able to use your platform to express your viewpoints and be able to, use the amazing opportunity that you have being on such great college campuses to, help the situation and grow it and make your school and make your own team a better situation for everybody. And I think that's what we're all trying to get to.
Couldn't agree more. And for you, Coach Freeman, you talk about your program, you talk about conference, NCAA as a whole. What are some of the things you're seeing? We see NBA obviously has the names on the back of the jerseys. They have the Black Lives Matter on the court. There's all these different things that's happening. What are some things as a program you guys might be discussing that you guys might do? It's kind of like a stance for social justice.
Well, first of all, I love what the platform these kids have right now. And I love what the Pac-12 did. I love those guys stepping up and having a voice, and people can agree with it. They don't have to agree with what they're saying, but I love that they have the platform to speak about it. I love what the Big Ten's put together the other day, challenging the COVID protocols. I love all that stuff. I love conversation. I love challenging the norm. right now we've got the Black Lives Matters patches. We're going to probably do something a little different. We're going to wear our black jerseys with the pink signatures for every away game to represent social injustice. So we're doing little things, little tweaks to get our things going. We're going to do the Black National Anthem before the games. So we're trying little different things, and we're not short of ideas, and we're welcoming them all. So our players are going to be informed, they're going to be educated, and they're going to be able to speak out.
And Coach Young, I mean, kind of going off that, what's some of the stuff UConn's talking about doing as you guys prepare for whatever the season starts?
I mean, there's been tons of conversations, Zach, around, a patch, something we do in solidarity before the games. We've already started a voting initiative on our campus. We've talked about, working with the urban community here in Connecticut to help try to rebuild, the police, law enforcement and inner city relationships, right? We want to be the bridge to kind of, to help rebuild some of those relationships. Coach Hurley is become a part of the McClendon Foundation, which is an initiative started by, Tommy Amica and John Calipari to help create, administrative positions for minorities on campuses. So, we're going to be at the forefront of change, and to echo Kevin, we're not short of any ideas, and we're welcoming, new ones as well.
And for you, Coach Killings, I mean, Coach Cohen kind of brought up the idea that it's caused another topic you guys could talk about. It's caused just people to be more open about these topics. What are some of the biggest things you've now noticed and seen differences in now that since the George Floyd thing has occurred?
On our campus, I think there's been more conversations about how to give more resources to the minority communities on our campus. And then also connecting Marquette's an unbelievable place. Milwaukee's an unbelievable city, but it's connecting the urban community to our university, I think, is really important. And there's been a huge drive from our president all the way down to just pay more attention, have more conversations about not only what our minority and Black student athletes want, but also what about the regular students? What's their experience like? How can, athletics impact them? And interestingly enough, I think our athletes, they operate in a bubble in some ways, in terms of, they go to class, they go to practice, they get on a plane, they travel. They're not always integrated into the campuses in terms of everything that's going on. We have to do a better job of that. We have to make more time for our kids to be able to be involved in the community and campus, so that way they can have an opinion and have a voice into the community that's embracing them and giving them an unbelievable opportunity. And I do think the one thing we're trying to do here that Coach Wojciechowski is trying to do here right now is there's all this energy and effort to have all these platforms and initiatives and ideas, but sometimes our players are lost. Nobody really asks the players, what do they want to do? How do they feel? What's important to them? Because it's important that whatever they feel and whatever they say to us, that inspires us to give them a platform and to do the right things that represent them, because they're the ones that do all the work. And it's their program. It's not ours. It's going to be their program for years to come. And we want to make sure they look back at the years and they're proud of those 2, 3, 4 years that they play here at Marquette.
Couldn't agree more. And I always like wrapping up with one question for everyone. And let's talk about your guys' legacy. By the time you guys all step away from coaching, whenever that day does come, what do you want your legacy to be? And we'll start with you, Coach Cohen.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. For me, I always say, and I say this to every kid that I coach or that I recruit, my goal is to help you achieve your dreams. So that's it. It's really that simple. And when you look at guys that we've coached, how have we helped them? How have we put them in a position to succeed? Something I know if I'm ever a head coach, I'm going to have in my office is what I'm going to call an outcomes board, and have every kid that I've always coached and see where they're at that year, and just be able to have a big picture and looking at man, I helped this kid get to this point, or he's here, I need to help him more. And I think putting everything in perspective, that it's all about our student athletes and how we can help them get to a point where they're saying, man, you helped me and I thank you for that. And that's what it's all about. And obviously we're all in it. We're competitive as can be, but in our form of guidance and helping these guys, it's to get them to reach their goals and potential.
What about you, Coach Freeman?
Yeah, this sort of my thing is to blaze a path for the underdog, for for student athletes, not just student athletes, for coaches, anybody aspiring to be great. That's my thing, to try to reach success and try to grab it, try to be heads on, and for those guys to follow my lead in a sense of conversation and pass that guidance on. If I can say, okay, I passed that to this guy, he passed to that guy, just leaving seeds for those guys, just being a true trailblazer and a pioneer for those following my tutelage, not only players but coaches, and being a true underdog, rising to the top.
Coach Young, what do you want your legacy to be?
I just want to honor all the coaches that I've had as a young person, right? I just felt like I wouldn't be, who I am as a person, who I became as a player, and who I am now as a coach if it wasn't for all the coaches that I had as a youngster, right? So many people have poured so much into me. I feel like that's my obligation, is to honor them and what I do. And then now as the coach now, it's just, putting everything I have into our players. That's it. I feel like if I do that every day, help them become better players, help them become better people, help them make better decisions, I'll get everything I deserve.
That's awesome. And last but not least, Coach Killings, what do you want your legacy to be?
It's a great question. I've never had anybody ask me that question, so I'm glad you picked me last. But, I work for a man by the name of Fran Dunphy, and the respect that he has earned is something that I admire. And I'd love for people to respect me in this business in that same light. During my time at Temple, I coached a kid by the name of Ramon Moore. It was stacked against him. He wasn't supposed to graduate. He wasn't supposed to have the success that he had. And he said to me, he couldn't have done it without me. And I think if my legacy, resembles that kids feel like I had a huge place in their success, their journey, helping them, whether it was become a better player or a better student or just survive, this crazy world that we're in, I'll feel good and I'll rest really well at night. And to echo what Coach Freeman said, I wasn't as talented as he was. I didn't have the success in the game of basketball as a player as Coach Freeman did. But I love this business and I love my job. And if I can create an opportunity for the next guy, I owe it to him because, this job has given me an unbelievable life, an unbelievable opportunity. And I think the thing that's most important to me is that, the guys that have played at Marquette or when I was at Temple or at UConn, they looked at me and said, hey, that guy's represented me the right way in terms of how he carries on with the job, the work that he puts into it, and how much he cares about it. So.
Without doubt. Well, I definitely appreciate all you guys for coming on today, and look forward to seeing what guys got next for you guys.
Nah, Zach, thanks for having us, man. This was awesome.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate
Good luck.
it, man.
Yo, good group, man. Good group. Appreciate you,
Thanks
man.
so much.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. God bless.
All right, guys. Be safe.